Hello there, sweet sewers. It's Rebecca from Sewing an Imperfect Life. Welcome to my little corner of YouTube and to my little corner of my home where I like to sew and create my own clothes. Today I'm here to talk to you about the Imby dress, which is my newest make. Do I have a new favorite dress? Well, it might just be my favorite one so far. Let's take a little look at the Imby dress. It is a pattern by Carme Apparel. It's a small independent Australian pattern maker, and she also sells some Indian block print fabric, which would be lovely to make up into her dress, one of her patterns. Okay, I'm just going to pull up my laptop because I've had to take my glasses off because of the amount of glare, so I need the info a little bit closer. All right, I'll read her little description, then I'll talk about my thoughts. So this is a summer dress to throw on with sandals or over swimmers, or make it a part of a layered winter outfit. The Imby dress is a relaxed, romantic wardrobe staple for every occasion. Featuring a ruffle collar and elasticated soft puff sleeves, the dress also includes inseam pockets in the lightly gathered tier skirt, as well as neckties and a V neckline split. Play with the length of tiers, sleeves and fabric choice for a multiple of me-made additions to your collection. So I've done my two patterns, my two versions of this pattern pretty much the same. I've brought the split up about 3 centimeters. That means I did have to fiddle around a little bit with the neckline binding on the inside, but it wasn't hard at all. It was just a matter of figuring out how to smooth it out and rearrange it a little bit. I did have to extend the collar quite a bit. I found the collar did not come all the way around to meet the bodice, so I had to extend that quite a bit. But in saying that, it now sits quite large around my neck, but I'm not sure how it would have met up to the bodice if I didn't do that. I have found some indie pattern companies, when they are grading up to larger sizes, so this is the second largest of the sizes, so it's not a super generous size range. That's something I dislike. This large pieces match together, but there's small pieces, especially small pieces on the curve, often don't fit the bodice. There's something about the grading system. I found that with sleeves as well as neck pieces with a few indie pattern companies. When you get above the average size range, perhaps it hasn't been tested enough, or there's something to do with the pattern making and it's just not quite right. The pieces don't come together quite right. Anywho, I have brought this up. I had to extend the neck piece a little bit, and I did not extend the frill, and I really should have. That would have given it more of a frilled look to it. I've kept the sleeves the same. They're lovely. I really like those. They're very comfortable. I extended the length of the skirt quite a lot. I believe it was 34 centimeters, 35 centimeters, and I took off the last tier, which was a little bit more gathered and gave a bit more of a ruffle look. I quite thought the top part of the dress was drama enough, and I didn't really want that extra tier, so I just extended the skirt, and I really like that. I also really like the pockets. They're at a good spot to put my hands into, and they're quite generous. I also really like the amount of gathering around the waist. It's not too much. I have made a Carme Apparel dress before, the Summer Vibes dress, and I love it, but it's less easy to wear because it is so oversized with both the sleeves and the dress. It kind of gets in the way a little bit. I wore it about a week ago, and I had to move the skirt around a bit to get upstairs or when I bent down and things like that. So this dress here, the Imby dress, does not have that issue because there's just less of it, a little bit more streamlined. I really like the fit. It is extremely comfortable. Okay, what I don't like, as I've already mentioned, is the neckline. So I found the Summer Vibes dress and this one, it falls back on my shoulders. So it sits back quite a bit, and I would like this neckline to maybe come around here a little bit more instead of down. This V comes here only because I brought it up, so another 3 centimeters would have definitely been showing my bra. And if you're throwing it over a pair of swimmers or cozies and you're at the beach, that would be fine, but this is going to be an everyday dress for me, so it needs to come up high enough to be quite modest. I found the instructions okay. Most of the steps are really, really well explained. I found the collar was a little bit tricky. I didn't find all the instructions super clear. They were there, but the way it was worded, I found it a bit tricky to follow. So I relied on knowledge I already had for part of it. Also, you cut the 2 collar pieces. So we've got the frill and then we've got the collar stand piece underneath. You cut those 2 collar stand pieces the same size. And I found on my first one, when you come to do the inside, it is really nicely and neatly finished. But when you come to do that, because the second piece is the same size as the outer layer, but you are trying to pull that down over 2 other pieces of fabric, it ends up being a little bit short and it's quite tricky to fit it in there. So on this second one, I trimmed down the outer collar just by about 2 mil, and I know that's not a lot, but sometimes when you're just trying to get that piece in the right place, it can make all the difference. And then when I popped it on, I also moved the collar down a little bit, so it was another couple of mil just short of the other pieces of fabric, and that made it really, really easy to fit in and be able to get it to line up and stitch in the ditch on the outside edge. I hope that made sense to you. My first version I made as a trial in this really lovely vintage fabric. I thought it was just cotton. It does have a cotton feel, but it's really, really holding some creases very stubbornly, so it must be a bit of cotton polyester, which I don't love, but anyway, it's made. It's a really nice mid to lightweight fabric, very pretty. I wasn't sure if it would just look a bit like a nightie because of the vintage feel, but I really like it. It's lovely. It's very, very sweet. The ties were also a bit tricky to fit in. If you're thinking of doing it, leave this seam on the collar open. Do not top stitch that till the very end. Then I slid my ties in and top stitched over the top. Look, it's a really nice finish when everything comes together. I have to admit, this whole collar, really nice and sturdy and neat. I also found the ties, this was supposed to be cut in half, and I originally did that, and then I went, there's no way I could do that up into a bow, and I ended up recut 2 of the ties instead. What else did I do a little blip on? I had to recut the collar because that was well short, like I'm talking 6.5 centimeters on both sides. And like I said, now it's a little bit too large, but it meets up with the bodice. So to fix that again, to make them to match up, you couldn't stretch it far enough for it to do that. But it would mean fiddling around with the neckline, bringing that up a little bit more, which you could definitely do, and I might do another time. Just extend this bodice piece up a little bit. I I think they're the main issues that I had. The sleeves came on really easily, just a lot of gathering. You just have to be slow and steady and patient to get it all to come together. A lot of gathering and then just a little bit of elastic on the end. That was quite easy because there's such a volume of fabric there. Sorry, I'm just finding bits of my hair. That is quite common for me. Because there's such a volume of fabric, you just have to be patient because there's a lot to weave a lot to gather, a lot to weave the elastic through, but it all comes together and it's really nice and neat. The seams are folded in. The bottom seam, I did a lovely chunky hem, which I like. I feel it's got a bit of weight and a bit of style to it when I do that. My second version was then the one I was really looking forward to sewing, and this is my Merchant & Mills Precious fabric, and I was a little bit nervous starting, but because I'd done the wearable toile, I got underway. There's a couple of little blips, but in the end it's a really, really lovely dress that I'm going to enjoy wearing. Now, I've popped it on and I've taken some photos and a bit of a video and tried to style it up a little bit to show you. I also tried to put on some cardigans and some boots to see if it would transfer to autumn or winter. Now, because of the really voluminous sleeves, it is tricky to fit in a cardigan. I could squeeze in, but it looked really bulky. Perhaps if you had a cardigan with balloon sleeves or really chunky sleeves, or you could do it with a really chunky jacket, I think that would work. So I did manage to fit into a denim jacket. I had to squeeze my fingers up and really reorganize and pull the dress sleeves down, but I think it worked okay. You could definitely layer it up with boots and tights and maybe even a long sleeve top underneath. I think that would work okay. The jacket thing would have to be quite large to get the sleeves into. I'll pop in the footage. It's of both dresses. There's kind of an autumn look with this one, summer and a winter look with this one in blue and pink and green. And you could definitely wear the dress open. And it's really quite simple to tie back up. You don't really need to be looking anywhere. Okay. Let's hop in the footage. they are my two Imby dresses from Kame Apparel, a vintage fabric and a Merchant and Mills. This is a cotton and linen fabric. I'll put in the link of where I got it from, and I'll put in all the links for the dresses and things that I've mentioned today in the description box below. Though, I'm going to finish my first coffee of the day and enjoy a little bit of quiet and sunshine. Perhaps later on, if I need a bit of company, I thought I'd pull out an old series called Longmire. I don't know if any of you have seen it. What are you watching at the moment? Longmire is a series, a modern Western series I watched quite a few years ago, and it's been coming back into my mind. So I thought I'd pull that out, and that can keep me company while I do bits and pieces today. So, have you tried the Imby dress? Would you like to try it? What would you change? Have you been watching a particular series that brings you joy lately? I'd love to hear from you. I hope you're well wherever you are in the world, and you're enjoying what you're making, what you're creating, and what you are wearing. It's so lovely to have you here. Take care, everyone.